Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the PSGL YouTube channel. Now it is the turn of the F5 League to take centre stage here for round 11 around the Bahrain international circuit. My name is Jake, and unfortunately my regular co-commentator Felix cannot be here today, so I'm on my own for this one. I hope you're all having a fantastic evening. Just a reminder, as always, that PSGL is sponsored by Brutal Democracy, an esports organisation providing £250 worth of prize money across the top 3 tiers. Just to give a quick recap on what happened last time out, we did of course race at the Shanghai International Circuit as Gelato ended our quite incredible streak of a different winner at every race by taking his second win of the season. Nino kept up his recent excellent form too by taking second place, while Lewis took his biggest points haul of the season in third. Meanwhile, Miku closed in dramatically on our championship leader Gavin as he took fourth, while Gavin could only manage a solitary point in 10th. Following the race in China, Gavin's lead in the championship is now just 2 points ahead of Miku. Matt's moved up to third, but he is 19 points adrift of a championship leader, meaning a good result here is absolutely imperative for his title bid. And in the Constructors' Championship, it continues to be very close between Red Bull and Williams, with just a 3-point advantage in favour of the Austrian team. The battle is closing up for third too, with Haas, Mercedes, Renault and AlphaTauri all separated by just 15.5 points. And coming on to our venue for tonight, we're of course racing at the Bahrain International Circuit, a track that covers 3.36 miles with 15 turns, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and a lap record set quite surprisingly back in 2005 by Pedro de la Rosa on a 131.447. A venue that has really come alive since it's changed to a nighttime race. We have seen some classic races at Sakhir in recent times, including the unforgettable 2014 Desert Duel between Hamilton and Rosberg, so expect plenty of drama in the F5 race here this evening. We're of course now into the 18-minute qualifying session, and we've already got some cars on their first flying laps, so let's have a look then at how Gelato is getting on at the moment. So he's just rounding the, just coming to this third sector now. Of course, he's our only driver in F5 this season to have won 2 races. Such is the unpredictability we've had in this league over the course of this season so far. And Gelato will want to keep up that momentum here as he sets the opening benchmark on a 125.1. Let's have a look then as Ghost goes quickest now, first man into the 124s on a 24.8. Gavin slots it into third on the medium tyres, and Leon now takes that third place away from him. Magic on his debut moves up to fourth on his first flying lap. Nino now pops it onto the front row of the grid provisionally as we join on board with Cymix as he has a massive moment at the end of sector 2 and they'll have to abort that opening attempt. And we've got Hausman, one of the form horses I would say of recent races. Only done 3 races in the division so far, but has collected 17 points in those 3 races and has been showing very well of late since his introduction into the league in the Red Bull. And of course his form's going to be crucial for Red Bull. They are the constructors leaders coming into tonight's race, but of course with Furhan not racing, it's all up to Hausman to try and collect the points for them this evening to keep that lead going, with Williams in second and both their drivers, Ghost and the championship leader Gavin, doing so well. It's really going to be a tough call for Hausman. It's just about collecting as many points as he can tonight and hoping that things can look up for Red Bull when we get to the North American rounds that are coming up. Of course, we won't be expecting a pole position lap time on these medium compound tyres, maybe just getting a feel for the circuit in these early stages. He's got Nino in front of him who will be on an in lap, so I suspect Nino will move out the way. Indeed he does so. Hausman will have a clear run over the line. We've got Ghost's lap time, which hasn't moved from the bottom of the screen there, which is a little bit annoying. Hausman's done a 27.2, which is not particularly competitive, but as I said, he is on the slower time. Matt's going to pit because he hasn't invalidated his first attempt. And we've got Miku. The man who's quietly gone about his business this season. He's only 2 points off a championship leader, Gavin, but amazingly, despite the fact we've had 9 winners in 10 races, he is not one of them. He's not won a race. He's had 4 podiums, but he's yet to stand on the top step. So it really is quite unusual in that regard that someone could be in championship contention by the 11th round when they haven't won a race. That's quite amazing. But he's never looked like the quickest driver, Miku, but he's just super consistent. And that consistency has meant he's still very much in contention here. As we move on to the latter stages of the championship, he comes into the pits, so he won't be completing that lap. We've only got Hausman out on the circuit at the moment, who of course will be returning to the pits. I'll just double check that he is, just in case he's on another lap. No, he's not. So we're going to have Ghost, who's the first man back out on the circuit on an out lap. I think I saw a Mercedes too coming back onto the circuit. That'll be Cortez or Lewis, I suspect, although they're both on mediums right now, so they won't be going for pole position laps, so to speak, right now. Scholl's not happy with the way that the Ferrari's feeling early on in qualifying. Just posted that in the chat. He said the cars, to all intents and purposes, should be equal, of course. The only non-equal spec league that PSGL run is the FP Championship, which runs tomorrow evening at 8 o'clock British summertime, if you do want to catch that. But of course there has been a performance update to the game today in the latest patch, and some multiplayer fixes as well, which have been long overdue and hopefully will make a big difference to the game. So hopefully now as well, drivers, if they do disconnect during the race, will be allowed to rejoin now, because they have said that the corner cutting glitch that occurred has now been fixed, meaning that if you disconnected and then rejoined, you could basically get away without corner cutting warnings by doing that. So that was the reason why it was prohibited in PSGL to actually rejoin once you disconnected, which was a real shame, unfortunate, but it had to be done considering the glitch that we had. So hopefully that's been fixed now, as Ghost invalidates his lap, so he will not be improving. We've got Gavin starting his lap in the other Williams, so let's go on board with our championship leader now as he brakes to the heavy braking zone of turn 1, a space where you can see plenty of overtaking in the race, no question about that, and you've got to be super careful on the curve on the exit, as we just found out there with Ghost having his time invalidated. But Gavin gets away with it, misses the apex ever so slightly there, but picks up the throttle pretty nicely. He did his opening lap time on the medium tyre, so obviously he would expect him to be significantly quicker now he's fitted the softs. Oh, you could hear the lock-up of the brakes there as he broke into that tricky double left-hand braking zone. It's such a difficult corner to get that right. And let's see what Gavin can do here as he comes up to the end of the second sector. It's not looking a bad lap, but I wouldn't say it's looking like it's about to go near the front, if I'm being completely honest. Scholl's really not happy with the feel of his Ferrari so far. He usually expresses confidence, especially towards his race starts. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. Gavin, as expected, just isn't quite up to the pace at the moment. Goes up to 4th place, as I think Leon, I said I might have been Magic actually, or Lewis that moved up there, couldn't quite tell. Just going to see if we've got anyone a bit further on into their lap. We've got Nino, so I'm going to follow Nino around to see what he can do. Currently on the front row of the grid, a driver who didn't really show much at the start of the season, but has really come into some excellent form of late, and is starting to show what he can do as Magic. His brand new teammate, of course. Let's not forget Magic is making his debut appearance in F5 tonight. He's got a full-time seat in the Racing Point alongside Nino, and that's a very promising lap there for the Racing Point driver as he pops it up into 3rd place. Cymix goes up to 5th, and what's Nino up to? He's got 24.8 to beat if he wants to put it on pole. Oh, he's ever so close, just 26 thousandths of a second adrift. And Nino stays second, but he was very close to taking pole position away. Miku has improved as well, and he's up to 6th. We've got anybody... We've got Scholes on a lap, the driver who's been complaining a lot about his car so far. Not happy with the way that the Ferrari's handling. He's comfortably up on his previous lap time, but you can see he's working so hard at the steering wheel. He's really struggling to get that Ferrari to do what he wants it to do, and you know, he's not wrong. That car looks a real handful at the moment, and maybe some setup tweaks are needed for Scholes when he returns to the pits. We've got Gelato out on a lap, and he's a 10th up through sector 1, but it looks to me like he's backed off. Yeah, he has. That's nowhere near full pelt going through there. So Gelato has opted to abandon that lap. A lot of drivers still opting for mediums as we get into the latter stages of qualifying. Quite interesting to see that. Scholes gonna say again, watch my start. With the way that Ferrari's handling, Scholes, you might need a good start with the way it's going. Hopefully when you get onto the soft tyres, the Ferrari begins to behave more like you want it to. And I'm going to follow Lewis, who is now one of the drivers who is finally out on the soft tyres. So hopefully we're going to see what he can do. Yeah, podium sitter last time out at China. Shown some good pace of late. Of course, he won the half points race that we had in Monza. So he has won one of the races this season. He was just unfortunate in the fact that he only got half points for it due to the circumstances around it. But we'll see what he can do now that he's on soft tyres. He's 126.6 he's set on mediums. He's already going for it quite a lot on his out lap, maybe trying to get a feel for the track before he builds up to his hot lap. Still got Hausman out on the mediums, which is a bit of an interesting strategy. Based on the pace I've seen him do so far, I'd suggest Hausman, if he went on softs, could be around the top 5 for sure. So I'm a little bit surprised that he's leaving it very late if he is going on to the soft tyres. Lewis then starts his first lap on the softs. Let's see how this gets on then. All the way up to the rev limiter before braking at the 100-metre board for turn 1. Took a bit too much curve, maybe a bit of a more shallow entry point than he would have liked. Didn't look the optimum through there, but it wasn't too bad. Now braking into this tricky little right-hander. Important to get on the throttle as early as you can and as cleanly as you can. Lewis is 3 tenths up in sector 1 after this very fast right-left chicane, which is fantastic to drive, I have to say. A bit of small lock-up into the right-hander, and now the double apex left-handed, by far the trickiest corner on this circuit. Turns 8 and 9, now onto the back straight, where you can once again use the DRS. This will be another overtaking opportunity come the race. And that's all about staying on the power, just about keeping it within the track limits. That must have been close. And Lewis using all the track and a little bit more here to extract the full potential out of his Mercedes. We've also got Gavin and Scholes on laps. I'll look at them once we've seen Lewis over the line. Around the last corner, and then this last corner here is just a kind of acceleration zone now. You don't really notice it. And Lewis is pitting. Slightly bizarre on that one, I have to say. Looks like he was on a fairly decent lap from what I saw. Gavin is slightly up on his previous lap time, but it's nothing too dramatic, and he stays in 6th when he improves to a 25.4. So still Gavin struggling for outright pace here, a championship leader, and this provides opportunities for the likes of Miku and Matt. Although having said that, Miku and Matt are currently behind him on the grid. We've got Cortez I think that is, who's just popped into 11th place on the medium tyre. And Scholes here trying to go for it finally on the soft tyres. We've seen already, but this Ferrari looks like a handful with him at the wheel. How is this lap looking? Look, he's looking a bit better on the soft tyres. The runs a little bit wide there, but that will cost him a 10th maybe as he just tries to pick up the throttle on the exit. And he's lifted off. He's lifted off, so Scholes decides that lap was not the lap that he was looking for and backs out of it. Is he going to go for it again? Looks like he is, which is a little bit surprising because the softs don't last all that long around here, so for whatever reason he decided not to continue that lap, and we've just got a minute and 20 seconds left to go. Hausman will not be doing anything else in this session. He will not be able to go out again, so Hausman on the medium tyres. You suspect he'll probably slip out the top 10 the way that it's going. And I actually now want to follow, let's have a look, let's follow Ghosts around then. His final lap of qualifying, he's currently on provisional pole. The trick here for him will be to see if he can just move those goalposts a little bit further in front of his opposition. He's a 10th up in Sector 1, so that's a very good start indeed. He is one of the 9 race winners we've had this season. Not a surprise when you see this sort of pace from him. We don't quite see it all the time from him, but when he's got a bit between his teeth, when he's really in the zone, he is super quick. Gavin, his teammate session is over, so the best that a championship leader will start is in 6th. Cortez is also finished. Of course, Hausman, we already know, has finished his lap. So here we go then. These are the crucial laps. A slight twitch there on acceleration for Ghost. How's his second sector time looking? It's still a 10th and a half up on what he'd done previously. We've got Scholes, I believe, who's just spun out the last corner, I suspect, because he's just stopped at the side of a road. Yeah, I think he might have had a little spin there, the Ferrari driver, so he will not be improving. Ghost over the line, improves to a 24-7. He has moved the goalpost as we suspected he might. Gelato, though, is also on a superb lap. What's Gelato going to respond with? He goes to provisional pole. A 124.6, a great effort from him. And we've also got Magic on his F5 debut, coming around the final corner, struggling a little bit under traction. But Magic up to the line now, and he goes up to 3rd, above his teammate. Has his teammate got anything left to respond with? In fact, let's go with Miku, who's just actually coming up to the last couple of corners now. Currently in 7th, and he's got a big opportunity here to start ahead of his championship rival Gavin. If he can just hook up this last corner right. He's improving through sectors 1 and 2. And Miku across the line goes up to 5th. He does indeed prove. Leon goes 6th. What's Lewis up to? He's also improving, but I'm going to go with Nino, who improves back up to 3rd. So Nino takes it back from his teammate. I believe Lewis now is the only driver left, and he is massively improving through the first 2 sectors on the lap time he did on mediums. This could put him right in the mix here. Lewis up to the line. What's this going to be good enough for? I think that's good enough for around 5th, I was going to say 5th or 6th. It's 5th, yes indeed. Lewis up into 5th place, right at the death. But it is Gelato who takes pole position by half a 10th ahead of Ghost, and Nino ever so close as well in 3rd. We've got Magic in 4th, Lewis in 5th, Miku starts 6th, Leon 7th, Cymix in 8th, Gavin will be desperately disappointed with 9th. And then you've got Hausman in 10th, who will actually start on the medium tyres, with Cortez in 11th, Matt in 12th, and Scholes in 13th. That is your grid for the F5 Bahrain Grand Prix. I know your starts are good, Scholes, but last to first into turn 1, I'm not so sure about that. I think the only way to do that is do what Johnny Herbert did here in the virtual Grand Prix all back in March, I believe it was. But yeah, well done to Gelato. It looked for all the world like Ghost had that in the bag, but Gelato pulled a brilliant lap out of the bag right at the death to take that pole position. And the likes of Miku and Gavin have to be a little bit careful. They might be currently in a battle all on their own for the championship, but a few bad results And if the likes of Gelato and Ghost can get really good results, it does bring them into the equation as well. The F5 League is so tight, sort of down from about third in the championship to about eighth. If any of those people can get on a run, it really does put pressure on Gavin and Miku up front. Not long until lights out here. See what those outside the top 10 have opted for tonight. Whilst two-stopper is the preferred strategy around here, but we saw certainly last night in F7 that a one-stopper is definitely possible. The hard tyres, you can eke them out to about 20 to 22 laps if you're very good with your tyre saving, so depending on any safety cars or things like that, there definitely is opportunities here to run different strategies. And if you can make the tyres last, a one-stopper is the way to go, because we saw that those who did two-stoppers yesterday in F7 just couldn't quite make back the time that they'd lost with that extra stop. So it definitely pays to be on that one-stopper, but it's not easy. We did see Patuka, I believe it was, have a puncture on his about 19 lap old hard tyres, so you have to look after them. It's going to be a lot of tyre saving here, and you can only really afford to do that if you're in clear air. So it's going to be intriguing at the least to see what the strategies are as we go into this one. We've got Cortez and Matt on the hard compound tyres to begin with, so that's an interesting strategy. What they'll be hoping for is that we don't have an early safety car, because that really doesn't benefit them. Scholes is on the mediums, and of course Hausman, although he was in the top 10, he did actually do that lap on mediums as well, so he can start on those too. And we've got the drivers now making their way through the last few corners now. Gelato will lead them away. Ghost is second. The two racing points of Nino and Magic in third and fourth. They'll be looking for a good points haul. Magic will be looking for a, pardon the pun, but a magical start to his F5 career. And then you've got your championship contenders, Miku in 6th and Gavin in 9th. And Matt as well, who's third in the championship in 12th. And we've actually got a migrating host. So there's some issues there for Leon perhaps. I don't know what's happening there. Okay, I've just been booted out, so I don't know if that's an issue on my end, or if that's just we're having a restart. Scholes, if you are still viewing the stream, if you could let me know, please. Obviously, if he doesn't let me know, I would suggest that he's currently racing, so... I don't know what's happening here, so I assume we're having a restart because there's only 6 drivers left in the lobby from what I can see. So I don't know if we just had a mass like... Oh no, it's just me in the lobby now apparently. So yeah, I think we must be having a restart. Something's clearly gone wrong there. I'll wait for an invite on that one. Not the ideal start then, just before lights were supposed to go out. Just bear with me while I wait for an invite back into the lobby. The worrying thing is Scholes hasn't said anything in the chat, so I'm wondering what's happened here. Looks like it's saying there's no drivers. Very confusing here. Just going to wait for an invite. Hopefully we'll be back underway soon and things can sort of get back to racing. Like I say, quick recap, we've got Gelato on pole, Ghost in second, Nino in third, Magic in fourth, and I believe Lewis completes the top 5. Do I have any way of joining other sessions? Right, so it looks like I just got booted out completely randomly. Not quite sure what that was all about, but we should be able to get back in here. And hopefully I can update you all on what's happened, although obviously there have been any incidents. I've really got no idea how they happened. Really sorry about that, guys. Don't know why it randomly booted me out. Oh, thank you, Co-Masters, as always. Right, so we are underway here in the Grand Prix. Let's have a look then, see what's happened. We've got Gelato still leading, Ghost in second, Nino third, Magic fourth. Looks like there's been very few changes. Gavin's at the back. What's that all about? He's way behind as well, so that would suggest that there's been some issues there. Maybe he's had to get a front wing change. Let's have a look to see. Yeah, so Gavin and Cortez have been in the pits for contact, I would suggest. Further up, we've got Miku and Lewis battling side by side here up to the end of Sector 2. Miku's got the inside line and takes 5th place off Lewis. So actually very little has changed at the front of the field. The top 5 was as you were until Miku overtook Lewis. And now Lewis could come under threat from Leon behind him. Scholes has had his typical good start as he finds himself up into 8th place from the back of the grid. And we've now got, look at this, we've now got Miku now under threat from Lewis as Lewis comes back at him into turn 1. Scholes into the pit, so he must have damage too, and he's also got a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Let me just see if I can have a look at that, what that's all about. Yeah, he's having his front wing changed, so there must have been contact then for the Ferrari driver, and he's back out onto the hard compound tyres, and he'll be hoping from there on in that he can do some damage, but that's not ideal for him. And Lewis then back up to 5th, so Miku's work that he did passing Lewis has been undone, and he's going to have to do that all over again. The top 4 have sort of pulled a little bit of a gap to these cars battling behind them, and Gelato's not pulling away from the 3 behind him as he perhaps would have hoped. So the front 4 very much together at this stage of the race, and that sets us up for a very exciting race ahead. We'll go with Ghost now. We'll be hoping to make the move on Gelato fairly soon. And 2 racing points just slotted in behind for the time being, just sort of minding their own business, if you like, at this stage of the race. Is Ghost close enough? I don't think he is. He's got a lot of VRS saved. Perhaps Gelato's got a little bit less. Lewis has just done the fastest lap, so Lewis is on the march here, trying to close in on this leading group. They're all together at this stage. We're going to go on board with Nino just briefly to see how he's getting on. You're sort of looking, I'd say, around lap 7 or 8, I would say, for your first stop. And then you've got the option there, do you take the hards and try and get them to the end, or do you take a set of mediums and opt for a 2-stop and hope you can get some overtaking done. Oh, we've got an issue further down. Miku's spun and Leon's out of the race. We've got a safety car out. What's happened there? What on earth has happened there? Miku and Leon must have had contact somewhere. Trying to see if I can see Leon's car, but that's a disaster for him. He's out of a Bahrain Grand Prix, and Miku, I have to check to see if he's got any damage. Trying to see, can I catch where that AlphaTauri is? I can't really see where the AlphaTauri is, I've got to be honest. But really unfortunate there for Leon and Miku as well. Has Miku got damage on his Renault? Let's have a look. Difficult to say. I think he might have got away with it, although he might choose it. I think a lot of drivers might just choose this moment to pit anyway. Yeah, so... Oh, well, Magic's pitted as well, so this is going to be a real blow for him, because he's, of course, going to have to queue behind his Racing Point teammate. Oh, and it's a good job, I tell you what, that saved Gelato's race that he got out in front, because he would have had to have queued up otherwise, because the Racing Point would have blocked the AlphaTauri pit exit. So it's an absolute saving grace for Gelato, but he just got out in front, and here we go. This is the different strategies now. So Gelato and Nino have opted for the mediums, which means they will stop again. But I reckon the likes of Ghost, Lewis, Miku, Magic and Hausman are going to try and get these hard compound tyres to the end from here. And the one person I think this really doesn't help is Matt, who is going to be on the hard tyres, and is just going to be... He's kind of consigned into a one-stop himself, but of course he'll be on the slower hard tyres and everyone will be bunched up behind him. So I don't think that's worked out too well for him. Gavin, I assume, will also go on to hards now and try and take those to the end. Indeed he has. So real variance in strategies here, and I think those on hard tyres, they'll have to conserve their tyres towards the end, but if they can do that, they're in a good spot right now. We saw a similar sort of safety car come out in F7 last night, and those that went for the hards and managed to nurse them to the end ended up in the best positions. So I'd say right now you're looking at Ghost, Lewis and Miku, and Magic being the four drivers in the best window at the moment. Gelato and Nino. Gelato's best hope is that he can just get past Matt on the restart and just pull a really good gap before he has to pit. This, of course, the person this really helps is Gavin, because that means he can now close back up to the back of the pack, and the drama that he had earlier, which unfortunately I didn't see due to the glitch that I had, whatever drama it was, it now means he's back in contention again. He'll just be at the back of the pack, but he'll be right there with them all. And Cortez, Scholes and Symix are also going to be right there too. So this brings all the 12 remaining drivers into contention. A shame for Leon, of course, how his race ended. Unfortunately, only caught the aftermath of what happened between himself and Miku. So, but whatever it was, it resulted in Miku spinning and Leon crashing out the race. Scholes saying he's about to dominate. Alright, I mean, confidence is the key. We'll find out, I suppose, if that's verging on overconfidence later on. But, you know, although he maybe near the back of the pack, he's only 11th, so there's hope for everyone here, I'd say, in the field. And it's going to really be a test now of who's got the best tyre wear. Of course, every lap the safety car stays out is going to be better for them, but obviously Gavin now will be closing very quickly up to the back of his pack, so I suspect we will see the safety car come in at the end of this lap. And Matt will then become the effective safety car, and he will choose when to go for it. Of course, if anyone who was involved in early troubles like Cortez or Gavin is on the podium at the end, I can actually ask them what happened at the start, because that will be a genuine question, because I literally don't have a clue. due to the fact I didn't see the race start. So, and there's definitely a possibility that one of us two could end up on the podium now. This safety car has brought everyone back into contention. So the safety car is indeed coming in, and Matt will lead the field away. And looks like he's already gone for it, to be honest. And in fact, if that's the case, then he's really left a... Well... Oh, he's waiting for the safety car now, and he's going to go right now. So Matt... Oh, he's had to pause on the line because of the safety car coming in so early, and that's going to allow Gelato, I believe it is, to come under threat from Ghost. And look at all of them bunching up here. We've got Renault down the inside of Racing Point 2. This is almost like a full-on start again. And we've got Gelato in second. Ghost remains in third. We've got Nino behind him fourth. We've got Magic now trying to make a move past Miku, who looked very threatening at the restart, but is now finding himself in a spot above her. And look at this Magic. Is he going to make the move? Yes, he is. So Magic up to sixth place. Gelato has suddenly dropped way down. So he must have made a slight error somewhere, but he's now down into fifth place, and he's coming under threat now from Magic as well. And this is not what he needs on those medium compound tyres. He needs to be making positions at this stage, not losing them. So that's a bitter blow for Gelato on this restart. And now Nino is in prime position on those medium compound tyres to try and pass Matt and then pull a gap sufficient to make the two-stop work for him. Scholes has made up one position as well. In fact, we've got Gavin now in front of Cymix. So Gavin up into 11th place. But look at this Nino right up behind race leader Matt. Matt, of course, starting on those hard tyres. So he'll be running quite deep into the race now before he pits. And this could be a really good opportunity here for Nino with the slipstream, with the overtake mode on. He really wants to get this move done. He knows just how crucial it will be for his race. Nino down the inside into turn one. A small lock-up. Matt tries to fight back on the exit, but it looks like Nino's made the move stick. And he's going to use some more overtake mode now to try and stay in front of the Haas, who's determined not to lose that place, but ultimately he has to concede in the end. Further down the field, we've got Scholes moving down the inside of Hausmann, and that puts Scholes up into 9th place. So another position gain for the Ferrari, usually so good on any kind of starts or safety car restarts. Seems to be Scholes' strong point, and he's already gained 2 places as he looks to move his way through the field. And already you can see Nino's trying to make a real bolt for it up front. He knows, like I say, due to the nature of the strategies that are now on, that Nino needs to pull as much of a gap now as he can to help him when he pits, because you do lose around 22.5 seconds in the pit stops, so that's a lot of time to try and make up. So all that he can gain now will help him out in his final stint, and getting out of the DRS range has to be his first port of call here against the Haas. And what he'll be hoping for, of course, is that there starts to be a battle rage behind him. Cymix got damaged because he's dropping a lot of time here as Nino does the fastest lap of the race. And here you can see here that Ghost is using his overtake to try and get close enough to the Haas under braking, but he cannot quite do so. Yeah, Cymix is losing a lot of time. He's not pitted, but he doesn't seem to have any pace at the moment. Gelato right on the back of this pair now, and he will be wanting to make up for lost time. He knows that he needs to get ahead of these sooner rather than later for his own race. And you can see, just look already, that Nino's pulled out a 1.6 second lead out front, so he's making the bolt for it that he needs. Oh, and look at that Ghost nearly running into the back of Matt under braking. Of course, Matt's hard tyres will be slightly more worn than those behind him. Shouldn't be affecting him too much though. As well, Ghost there for a second there, wasn't sure whether to attack or defend. Such is the precarious position he currently finds himself in. I'm getting a feeling this is going to have to be some serious defending here from Matt, because Ghost and Gelato should have DRS down the next straight, and this could be the opportunity that they've been waiting for, to try and get past the Haas. This is going to be a big moment. Let's go on board with the Williams. He's got DRS open. He's trying to use overtake. Matt defends, but leaves the car's width on the inside. Gives him enough space. Gelato! Oh, Gelato runs into the back of Matt. He may have collected damage there in his attempts to try and follow the Williams through. He almost got in. Look at that! Incredible stuff there. It looked like Matt was going to the inside just as Ghost went to cover it. And there was very nearly a huge crash there. Matt had to take evasive action and sticks behind the Williams for now. And then he gets a poor exit, which is going to put an invitation to Gelato to try and make the move stick. This has all helped Nino further pull clear at the front, and Ghost now will try and do the same thing. What's clear at this stage is Matt just doesn't have the same pace as those around him, and he's beginning to form quite a train of cars behind him. And it's all about now, can Ghost pull clear? And Gelato too needs to make a move sooner rather than later, you feel. He's looking in a good position here, of course. Matt will have DRS as well, thanks to Ghost, but he's that close. Is the AlphaTauri, but with some overtake, it might not be enough anyway. Let's go on board here. He's trying to stick in overtake. He really wants to make this move. He's going round the outside. Is he going to have a superior traction on those medium tyres? Yes, he is. Indeed he is. So that's a crucial move made there by Gelato, who moves up into third place, and Matt is just starting to slide down the order somewhat. Also now see Cortez, I think, get past Scholes into 8th further down the order. Oh, and Matt's run slightly wide there on the exit of turn 6, and that's going to allow potentially an opportunity for Lewis as he almost runs into the back. I think Matt's early braking is catching a few drivers out here. Not deliberate, of course. I think it's just the fact that he's on these older hard tyres that it's meaning he's having to brake slightly earlier than optimum. And Matt's already in danger of losing a DRS advantage to Gelato in front of him. And Gelato, in fact, could be in an opportunity here to get past Ghost. If you compare ERS, he's got more of that to use too, so this could be a change here for second place as Gelato looks to get past the Williams. He's got the DRS, he's used a bit of overtake, not that much, but he should have the position gained into turn 1, and yes indeed he does. He outbrakes the car, and further behind we've got Lewis and Magic diving past the Haas of Matt, who continues to lose more and more positions, and that decision to start on hard tyres has really been affected by the safety car that came out. And now Magic is going to try and go down the inside of Lewis. This is a brave move if he can make this stick. We're going to stick on board of him here. I think he's going to have to stick him behind for now, and he does. So Lewis keeps hold of 4th place for now. But Magic on his debut, definitely not afraid to get down in amongst the experienced field here. And he wants to prove himself very early on in his PSGL career. And yeah, he's showing some very good racecraft here and some good pace to boot, and he's definitely threatening some of the more established names of F5 so far. Again, this just shows the unpredictability of this league. You know, we talk about the championship now as we're getting so close to the end of the season. We've only got 3 more races after tonight. But the top 3 in the championship, Gavin, Miku and Matt are currently 6th, 7th and 10th respectively. So it just shows there's so much strength in depth in this division, and you never know from one week to another who's going to really prove themselves. As we've got here Miku now trying to be the next person to overtake Matt, and of course this is a battle between 2nd and 3rd in the championship. As Miku looks to make the move stick, Matt will be sick at this point of losing positions, and he's trying his best to keep hold of this one. Both of them have got the DRS available to them. Miku trying to go around the outside of the Haas, and he's managed it. Matt does lose another place. He just doesn't have anything to respond with at this stage. And Miku finds himself up into 6th place. And for Matt, it's only going to get more irritating, I think, because Cortez is now approaching him as well. And could Matt be about to lose yet another place? And of course, he will have a stop to make, as he did start on those tyres. So this strategy at the moment not really working out too well for Matt. What he will be hoping for later on is another safety car, because that would bring him right back into contention, as he potentially would be on better tyres than some of those around him. Ghost is doing a good job here, sticking close to Gelato. Nino's lead up to 3.8 seconds at the front. That battling behind him really worked out well in his favour, but you can't help feeling he's going to need a bit more of a gap than that. One potential option, of course, would be to run a little bit deeper and maybe go soft, medium, soft rather than soft, medium, medium, which I think would be the preferred strategy. And in fact, we've got Ghost now coming back at Gelato, but he opts better than to make a move into turn 1. What we've got here, Cortez looking for a move down the inside of Matt, and Matt will not want to lose another place. And Scholes now trying to slide his way down the inside. Oh, and what's happened here, Gelato? Gelato's had a spin. Oh, and Cortez has gone as well. We've lost Gelato and Cortez. Massive collision there. I think there were almost separate things happening there. Cortez, of course, was alongside Scholes, so I think something went on between those two, but Gelato was involved in something himself. Of course, he was just ahead of Ghost, but I think he may have lost it on the curb. I can't say for sure, because, again, I only saw the aftermath of it, but that's a very distinct possibility, and unfortunately that has dropped these pair right to the back of the field, and to say they're both on mediums, that's a disaster. The last thing you need to be right now is to be playing catch-up to guys who potentially might not pit again. So that's a real blow for Gelato. And we talked about Gelato and others around him potentially being championship threats if they can keep up the form they've been showing. But not scoring many points here is really going to put that to pay. He cannot afford that, so he's going to now be on recovery mode to see what he can salvage. And now, as a result of that, as Cortez gets a penalty for a corner cutting penalty, we've got Nino now 4.1 seconds in front. Now we've got Matt in the pit, so Matt, I assume, now will take the mediums to the end. He's had enough of those hard tyres, and I can't blame him. He was struggling a lot for pace. We've got a yellow flag in sector 3. That's Cortez going very slowly back into the pits. Is he about to retire, I wonder? He's got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And let's see. Yep, Cortez has decided he's had enough, and he becomes our second retirement of the session. Looks like there might have been contact between himself and Scholes. Unfortunately, I only saw Cortez go off, but I know that Scholes was battling him at that point. And unfortunately for Cortez, that is the end of his afternoon, or evening rather, I should say, and he becomes our second retirement of the evening, with Leon, who of course we saw was in the wall earlier on. Matt now on medium tyres to the end, and it'll be interesting to see what he can do from there. He'll be hoping that he can find a lot more pace on those tyres than what he had previously. But right now, I have to say, the current top 3, well, I'd say the top 4 rather, of Ghost, Lewis, Magic and Miku are looking pretty good to be the top 4 come the end of the race. You look here, like I say, when Nino comes in for his stop, he's going to be 22.5 seconds down from where he is at the moment, and that's going to put him, well, that's going to put him behind Gelato even, so he's going to have so much time to try and gain on these top 4, but it might just be too much. And I think at this stage he will start to struggle to gain as much time to those behind him, because those medium tyres will be starting to wear. Of course, one driver this is working out pretty well for is Miku. And it's not working out too badly for Gavin either. Gavin just hasn't had the pace tonight, I don't think, to really challenge, but any sort of points he can get here, and if he can get sort of only 1 or 2 places behind Miku, it's good damage limitation, but like I said, Miku could end up being the new championship leader by the end of the race. Of course, we race at Montreal next week, a track where we're going to see a lot more corner cutting penalties and warnings than what we've seen here tonight so far. And that will play a big factor in the result there, no doubt about it. And of course, this is a point now where the race does go into a little bit of a lull as cars are spaced out now on their varying strategies. Nino is getting to the point now, I say, in the next few laps he would pit if he was going to go into mediums, but like I say, he may wish to lengthen out a stint if he then wants to switch to softs. He's got a couple of options available to him, Nino. It just depends which one he wants to take. He'll know that the gap he's getting at the moment isn't going to be enough on the strategy that he's on. The best thing he can hope for is that those on hards really struggle towards the end, and we did see that in F7 last night, and we even saw a puncture. So, you know, those on hard tyres are not out of the woods by any stretch of the imagination. They're still going to have to conserve their tyres, and any lockups like that, and we've seen a couple of those from Miku so far, they're not going to help the tyres one bit. And we're starting to see now Ghost and Lewis really start to gap this pair now. And we've got Symix in the pits. Is Symix going to be going on to another set of tyres, or is he... Hopefully he won't retire, but yeah, he's going to another set of mediums, which should get him to the end. What he'll be hoping for now is a safety car, try and bring him up to the back of the pack, but right now he's not staring at any points, but he needs one more retirement or one more driver to drop behind him for that to change. So it's worth sticking it out from that respect. Miku is looking like he wants to get past Magic here, and he's got a lot of ERS save, way more than the racing points. So if he thinks he's got a good enough run out of his final turn here, as Nino pits, so Nino I think will now go on to a medium set of tyres. He could go for softs, but I don't think it's worth it personally. Trying to find Nino. There we go. So Nino is on another set of medium tyres, and he will now go to the end of a race on them, but that extra stop's going to mean he drops quite far behind the leader. He'll fall behind Gelato, I believe. Indeed he will. Not really where he wants to rejoin either, just behind another car. Although Gelato himself will have to pit pretty soon, so... But yeah, look at that, he's 18 seconds off a race lead now, so... It's going to be a real tall order for him to salvage anything out of a race from here on in. We shall see, of course, on that one. Go on board with, you know, he is going to want to try and get past Gelato as quickly as possible, but the last thing he needs to do is run into the back of him. So we'll know that too. He's using overtake here. He wants to get this move done as quickly as possible. Gelato knows it's not really worth fighting over, and Nino moves it up into 8th place. Pretty simple move in the end, as Miku has actually moved past Magic. I said that move was coming, and it looks like it's finally happened. Magic might potentially be starting to run into some tyre issues, who knows. Maybe going into tyre conservation mode as well. But Miku now up into the podium positions, and that would be an excellent result for him for his championship bid. As it stands right now, he would be going top of the championship, despite the fact, as I mentioned earlier... Oh, and Gelato! He's speeded in the pit lane and he's retired from the race. So we've lost Gelato, so Symix will climb into the points then. Gelato decided enough is enough. That penalty was enough really for him to decide that he's had enough of the race tonight, and... a little bit disappointing, but he won't be scoring any points as a result. We've got 10 drivers left in the race. And Miku just struggling at this stage to pull away from Magic, who's staying right with him. We've got yellow flag in sector 1. That's Symix. No, that's just Gelato. But, so then, what can Magic do here to try and take back 3rd place? This would be an excellent result in his debut. Just the fact he's battling for a podium is a positive sign going forward, as Gavin looks like he's gained a position. See if I can just quite catch that. Yeah, Gavin's got past Scholes. So Gavin up now into P6, or sorry, P5 rather. And you can see already, look at the pace Nino's got, and Scholes here might have a chance to come back at Gavin rather. He ducks to the inside into turn 1, and that's outbroken the Williams car, and Scholes retakes that 5th place, and Gavin will run out to fight back down the following straight. He's not using overtake, but he's got DRS open. He's going to move to the outside line here. Scholes very defensive on the inside. Gavin looking for a move around the outside. He gives him room, but on traction the Ferrari just stays in front for now. But this could not be over yet, because Gavin looking to go right around the outside of a fast chicane and then take the inside line into the following slow right-hander. That's an incredible overtake, but Scholes coming back at him now. Scholes not giving this up one bit. And Gavin's going to have to really make it stick here to shake this Ferrari off. Look how defensive Scholes is going. And now he cuts back across. I think that's okay. There's no problem there. Of course, if he'd have moved back across, if Gavin was alongside them, it would have been much more of an issue. But Gavin here then really desperate to get past Scholes, and he'll know as well that the problems are going to mount up for him now, because he's got Hausman and Nino approaching at a vast rate of knots. And the pace Nino's going here, a podium's not out of the question, but this group of cars could prove troublesome for him, no question about it. Scholes going back at Gavin yet again. Gavin really wants to get short of his Ferrari, no doubt about it. But Scholes was just not having it. Look at this, side by side there, a bit of contact. I thought for a second Scholes might be about to go round. Gavin's got the DRS, so I think Scholes will have to stick him behind. But no, he's diving down the inside. What a brave move, and he's going to make it stick. But no, he loses the car on the exit, and Gavin should now have the position sewn up, as long as he doesn't make any mistakes through his next sequence of corners. And Nino has now got past Hausman and is right on the back of the Ferrari, and I get the feeling now that Scholes is going to have far more problems looking behind him than he is ahead of him. So let's go with Nino then. He's using overtake. He hasn't got a lot of it left, but he wants to clear this Ferrari as soon as possible. And look at that dive down the inside. There's nothing much fresher and better tyres for Nino, and that really showed there, outbraking the Ferrari and taking 6th place, and he really is on the charge right now. Ghost still leads away, just 0.8 of a second ahead of Lewis. So Lewis is staying right with Ghost here, and that could come right down to the finale here. And we've got Magic now potentially having a run on Miku. We've got yellow flag in sector 3. What's that all about? That's Scholes. Scholes has had an incident. He's spun round at the final corner, and Scholes has had a spin. Meanwhile, further down the field, we've got, that's Nino it is, moving down the inside of Gavin to take P5, and Nino can now really get after the cars in front. And all of a sudden, Nino's going to become a big threat here for the podium, which Magic has just taken 3rd off Miku, so I don't think Gavin will mind that one bit, and potentially now Nino can get after Miku. So this might not be a bad idea for Gavin now to just sit behind the Racing Point and see what happens from here, because he just won't have the outright pace to challenge right now. Look at Lewis just biding his time. Let's have a look at their ERS deployment. So a bit more for Lewis at this stage of the race compared to the car in front. So Lewis here is not in a bad position here, and he's quite comfortable just sticking really close to Ghost. Like I said, you are getting to that point now where the hard tyres are going to start to feel a little bit past their best, and you are going to have to try and save them as much as possible in the remaining laps. Is Lewis in a position here to challenge? We're on board with the Mercedes driver. No, not quite close enough on this occasion. Didn't really use too much of his overtake either. So we're clearly wanting to save it. He's quite happy just sticking behind Ghost right now. Look at Nino absolutely charging. Ultimately, the strategy hasn't worked out too well for Matt, who just lost too much time on those hard tyres at the restart. Just didn't have the pace really to stay where he would have liked. So Matt now just looking at bringing the car home for some solid points, but the longer this goes on, the more it's looking like Miku and Gavin are very much the two battling for the title. But Ghost as well, with a win here, could propel himself right into the thick of the action too. Let's go back then with a battle for the race lead. Not yet really ignited this battle. If Lewis is just playing the patient game, we shall see, or if he's just quite content at the pace he's going at right now. But yeah, still not using a lot of his overtake. Ghost, on the other hand, is using a lot of it. Ghost perhaps not really realising that Lewis is not really attacking that much at the moment. And if Lewis can just continue to save that ERS while sticking close to the Williams, he'll be a big threat in the last few laps, no question about it. So Lewis right now looking very strong here, just sitting behind the race leader. This race win is very much up for grabs here, and both of these two, by the way, have won this season already, so it will be a second win of the season for either of these, so we won't be looking at a 10th winner in 11 races if either of these two came home on top. The way Nino's going at the moment, though, he will close up to his teammate and Miku by the end of the race, I suspect. So Nino's potentially here still got a podium very much within his grasp. You can see the car ahead of these two is just Cymix, who is close to being a lap down. It hasn't been the ideal race for him. Alfa Romeo, of course, currently bottom of the constructors. They've had a bit of a disaster this season, truth be told. So any points really for them will be a plus. And Lewis here using overtake. He's much closer than he has been. And surely now Lewis is going to be able to make a move here on Ghost into turn one. Lewis going to the outside. On Ghost, this is for the race lead. And Lewis has been squeezed out a little bit there by the Williams. And he has to slot him behind for now. He still saw an opportunity there, but couldn't quite make it stick. Ghost defending the inside and saying, nope, you're going to have to do better than that if you want this race win. Now, Cymix should Ghost here, so this shouldn't be an issue for these cars. And Magic is just keeping about a second ahead of Miku at this point. And Miku will definitely need that margin at this rate to stay in front. So Miku cannot afford to lose DRS on Magic, because without that, Nino's just going to be... well, Nino's going to find it easy pickings to get past, I'd say, the pair of them. But I don't think Magic will fight it too much with him both being teammates. Of course, we're coming down to the last 3 laps. This is where the hard tyres are really going to begin to be past their best. You're looking at 70% plus tyre wear coming into it now, and you're really going to be clinging on to them. So Nino's pace is going to be interesting to watch out for here. His tyres will be absolutely fine. As Lewis comes back at Ghost, this time he's got a much better run down the straight. Ghost again tried to fend him off down the inside, and again he looks like he's got away with it. Lewis, I think they're just been a little bit too generous to Ghost there. He was obviously wanted to give him a car's width, but I think if anything he sort of invited Ghost to come back at him. I get the feeling if he wants to get this race win, he's going to have to be a little bit more assertive than that to take it from the Williams. Otherwise, you know, Ghost is always going to fight that one off. You've got to be a little bit more, I won't say aggressive, but you know, you shouldn't be giving the Williams all the respect in the world if you want to win the race. You've got to really show. Because right now, Lewis looks quicker. I have to say, Lewis looks like the quicker driver. But while ever he presents an opening back for the Williams, he's going to take it. I don't think anyone wouldn't. And Nino's already right on the back of Miku, and that really should be a done deal. You can see Miku now maybe really struggling with his tyres. I mentioned earlier that he'd been having some lockups under braking, and that won't have helped his tyres. And maybe it's just starting to come to roost now. Look at Lewis though, he looks like his tyres are in much better nick than Ghost, despite the fact that Ghost has been running in clear air for most of this. And here comes Lewis. This time, can he make a more aggressive move stick? He's going to try and go to the inside. This time Ghost cannot fend it off quickly enough, and this time Lewis, but again Ghost goes back for it. Lewis is determined. Oh, we've got yellow flag in sectors 2 and 3. We've got Scholes, I think that is further down the field, who's gone round. But we're focusing on this battle for the lead. Nino's up to 4th place and is all over the back of his teammate. But Ghost stays in front of Lewis once again. So Lewis just cannot make the move stick. Ghost really... I thought Lewis had got the move done, but Ghost is not having that at all. I don't know what Scholes is up to further down. But we're on the penultimate lap of the race now, and it's coming right down to the wire here between these two. Ghost absolutely determined to get this win. And let's see then, what can Lewis do? Of course, Nino is going to be closing right up to the back of his teammate. And it's going to be a quite incredible drive for the podium and a few more laps, and he could have potentially been involved in this scrap too. What has Lewis got left in locker? He's using overtake down this straight. Maybe that's just to get closer, perhaps. I don't know, but here we go then. This is it. Going onto the straight for the final time. It's the last lap of the race. What can Lewis do this time that he hasn't already tried? He's not really as close as he was. He's going to be alongside. Oh, he's ducking to the inside. I think there might have been a bit of contact there between the pair of them. He's really trying to make sure that Ghost has nowhere to go. There's a bit more contact between them. A bit more contact as well. And Ghost comes back at Lewis. Ghost still not determined not to lose that place. There was a bit of barging there. Whether that was completely fair, I'm not too sure. Lewis obviously fed up with Ghost coming back at him. Tried to do the dummy. Sell the dummy down the inside. And here we are. This is the other battle to keep an eye on. Nino is right up behind his teammate for the podium spot. He's going to go down the inside. No, he's not. This is incredible stuff here. We've got further down. I think that's Matt making his way past Gavin. Oh, sorry, Matt making his way past Hausman, rather. And look at this. We've got two separate battles going on here. Oh, Lewis has had a mistake. Lewis has had a mistake. We've got Nino, who's passed his teammate. Nino passed his teammate on the final lap of the race. Nothing the Magic could do to stop that. But Lewis, in his desperate bid to get back past Ghost, had a moment. And that has really cost him any chance of taking a win off Ghost here. And if he'd have had any more of a moment, he could have found himself under pressure from the racing points too. But around the final corner now for Ghost. It's been an incredible defensive drive to hold off Lewis. And his reward here will be the winner of the PSGL F5 Bahrain Grand Prix. Ghost takes the victory. Lewis second, Nino third, Magic in fourth. Miku finishes fifth and will be level on points with Gavin. Gavin will stay championship leader, respective of the fact that he has a race win to his name. But and Hausman jumps up to 7th ahead, and Matu had a penalty. Scholes will take 9th, and Simics takes the final points. What a breathless end to this Bahrain Grand Prix. Ghost though holds on to the race win. It got a bit physical there between himself and Lewis, but he really wanted that win, and you could see that in his driving. He was desperate to get that race win, and fair play to him. And that also means that Williams will take a decent lead at the top of the constructors as well. Red Bull definitely need a response. Their recent poor form has really cost them. Lewis then second. Nino made the two-stop work to an extent and took third place. I don't know how happy he'll be with that result, but it's still a decent point score for him, and his recent good form is really launching him up the championship standings. Magic on his debut takes fourth. Miku, I think, will be a little bit disappointed that he's only one place ahead of Gavin, considering how their races panned out. But that does mean they're level going to Canada, and that really does shape up the championship battle in an excellent way. Driver of the day according to the game goes to Matt. That's not who I'm going to go for my driver of the day personally. Nothing against Matt, I just think there were better drivers out there today. In terms of who I would give driver of the day to, oh, it's a tough, I've got to say it is a tough one. But for me, I would say my driver of the day would probably go. I'm going to give it to Ghost. You know, I don't try not to give it to the race winner too often, but the way he held on to that win, you know, Lewis might think it was a little bit over aggressive, but I really respected the way that he went about that. It was really hard fought from Ghost, and I think he earned that win. He really did. Massive shouts out to Nino, who showed excellent pace on the two-stop strategy. Magic as well on his debut showed that he's going to be one to look out for in the coming races. Lewis as well for getting second place did an excellent job, but for me, Ghost is both the winner and the driver of the day. And that's, like I said, that's going to leave the championship well and truly set going forward. The two, Miko and Gavin, level on points. Ghost could potentially come into play as well. It's going to be an exciting climax to the season, and I cannot wait to see how it unfolds. There's your full race classification order. Scholes will get the fastest lap point. Pretty easy for him in the end, because he had about a minute's worth of time where he could just literally pit and get fresh tyres on. But he won't mind getting that extra point, I'm sure. And yeah, going forward for next week, of course, PSGL F5 will return next Monday at 7 o'clock British time. We are at round 12, Montreal, the Canadian Grand Prix. Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, that's going to be one to look out for, no question about it. But for me, Jake, it's time to say farewell for now. Hopefully we'll have Felix back in the commentary box alongside myself next week, and we'll see a great race at Canada. But until then, that is all from me, and I'll catch you on the flip side.